All right, welcome to Speak for Yourself. I'm Jason Whitlock. That's Marcellus Wiley.
Yes, sir.
That dude back from vacation. All right, we'll tell you if Dak Prescott proved he's a franchise quarterback.
And if Carson Wentz needs to start worrying about his job. Answer is yes. But we start today with a Whitlock like every day. What you got today, big dog?
Oh, man, if you tuned in hoping to witness a Lamar Jackson pity party, you're going to be greatly disappointed. This isn't Twitter. This is the real world. And in the real world, there are no pity parties for starting NFL quarterbacks. There's blame and fame. Today, Lamar Jackson gets the blame for the Ravens' 23-17 loss to the Los Angeles Chargers. The opening weekend of the NFL playoffs served as yet another reminder that the quarterback position is best played from the pocket by men who make big plays with their arms and not their legs. Mitch Trubisky, Deshaun Watson, and Lamar Jackson, the Black Tim Tebow, all learned this lesson. Let me say, I hope they learned this lesson, especially Lamar. It's going to be most difficult for Lamar because, like Tebow, he has a cult-like following that will rationalize and excuse his 3-fumble, 1 interception, and countless inaccurate throws performance. In that fake social media world where so many media members and athletes live, any criticism of Black Tim Tebow is seen as racism by the Jackson Hive.
Racial.
It's not. It's the price of playing the position Broadway Joe Namath and Super Bowl III elevated to the highest in sports. Terry Bradshaw, drafted number 1 a year after Namath shook up the world, was the first quarterback to pay this price. In his very first NFL start, Steelers fans booed Bradshaw, and his head coach, Chuck Noll, benched him. Later in his rookie year, Bradshaw took his mother to a hockey game in Pittsburgh, and fans booed them both. Bradshaw was labeled too stupid to play quarterback in the NFL. Here's the headline from the January 9th, 1975 New York Times, published 3 days before Bradshaw would quarterback the Steelers to their first Super Bowl. Is Bradshaw too dumb to be super? So no, I don't feel sorry for Lamar Jackson. He's not a victim of unwarranted criticism. He played terrible yesterday and probably should have been benched early in the third quarter. But Ravens head coach John Harbaugh couldn't do what was best for his team because he and his players are locked in the Twitter matrix of disreality. During the game, Baltimore defensive back Jimmy Smith bickered with Ravens fans who were calling for backup Joe Flacco to be inserted into the lineup.
I love Flacco, but number 8 got us here. So for the fact that you're a fair weather fan that quickly when things go rough, you turn your back on them, and that just got under my skin a little bit. So I just went to him and told him, like, yo, you either ride or die or you get the hell out of here, period.
Nah, fans rightfully think the game is about their team winning or losing. For fans, it's never really about an individual player. It's not about Kaepernick or Tebow or Lamar. It's about the Ravens and the Chargers. Yesterday, the Ravens stuck with the wrong quarterback, and if Lamar doesn't learn to play from the pocket, the Ravens are going to be stuck with the wrong quarterback. All right, joining the desk now are Fox NFL analysts Tony Gonzalez and D'Angelo Hall. Marcellus, I'll start with you. Did the Ravens make a mistake not benching Lamar Jackson?
Not at all. And obviously, that criticism, that decision was being talked about at halftime. We heard Tony Romo and others saying that during the third quarter, this seems like the moment. But I will start here, and everyone who's ever played the game knows that during adversity, the most popular guy, not only on the team, but probably in the city, is the backup quarterback. Every single person is sitting there, he's our savior, put him in right now. But there's a reason why he's the backup, so you got to respect that. If I'm Coach Harbaugh, I look at this for two different reasons why I keep Lamar Jackson in there. One is this kid has answered most of the questions about him as a quarterback in this league. Remember, he overachieved this year based on what people thought he would become as a quarterback, let alone a franchise quarterback. The days of him being a wide receiver and Bill Polian and others, those days are long gone. Now we're talking about how good of a quarterback can he be. But beyond that, he played them into this reality. The 6-1 finish to the season played them into this moment, and you have to ride with that guy, ride or die with that guy. Your job security is married to this guy actually going out there and performing. So I think for all those variables, if you add them up, this was the smart play, the smart decision to ride with Lamar Jackson?
I mean, I think it was the smart business decision. I don't think it was the smart decision as far as that team at that particular moment trying to win that football game.
Boom.
And from the jump, when they've had Lamar out there, I never felt like they gave this kid a chance to develop. And I said time and time again, man, I don't know if this team can keep winning games. I don't know if they can keep winning games. And they've kept winning games. But in the playoffs, it's different. I was just talking to Whit about that. In the playoffs, teams will sacrifice some things in the regular season to not show you everything for the playoffs. It felt like the Chargers learned a lot from their loss to Baltimore at the end of the year. It didn't feel like Baltimore learned a lot from winning because they didn't change anything. They didn't try to change anything in that first 3 quarters. And so I felt like, yes, if they wanted to win that game on that day, they probably should have put Joe Flacco in the game. But you can't. You can't because
Yes, you can.
Lamar is the sole reason you have a job, John Harbaugh. Now we're talking about John Harbaugh possibly being traded as one of the greatest coaches of all time. His organizations want to trade for him right now.
Yeah.
Okay? He was about to be fired at one point in the season. That's one. 2, if you play Joe Flacco and he hurts his knee in that fourth quarter, $25 million on the hook next year, your team is looking totally different than what you think you're going into next year as far as having that money to spend. So it was a lot of variables that went into him not
Absolutely. Yeah, if he gets hurt, you got to pay him.
Yeah.
And so definitely, I wouldn't have put him just from that standpoint because they're moving on. Obviously, Joe Flacco is out. Lamar Jackson is the future of this franchise, whether you like it or not.
Very well, Tony. I know you very well. Tony in pads. Those first 3 quarters of that game,
he's going off.
Tony Gonzalez is like, hey, man, get Flacco out here.
Well, yeah, and I watching the game yesterday, and I was saying the same thing everybody else was saying. Okay, maybe it's time to make that switch, but I would say I understood why. Immediately right then and there, I'm like, he can't go on. First of all, for financial reasons, he can get hurt. Yeah. Second of all, let's go to this. The person that I have
make him inactive. If it's so seriously.
Yeah. No,
Make
what about this?
RG3
Teams normally do that. Yeah.
Don't make him inactive.
You're right. Make him inactive, just like they did with Carson Wentz yesterday. All right?
So he was available, and they could have played him.
And they could have, but I still. This is what I say. I have a problem just as much with not putting Flacco in with Marty Morningwig, okay, the offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
Why didn't they go to that 4 wide at the end of the game when they were out of it, right? The score's out of hand. He almost brought him back. If I'm a Baltimore
Chargers brought him back.
If I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan right now, you got to be at least a little bit excited, saying, okay, we're no longer that one-trick pony that Lamar Jackson's going to take off. We're going to have a running game. I'm just saying, stay with me now.
What game did y'all watch?
I'm gonna
Stay with me now.
Stay with him.
Stay with me now.
Did
Did you turn it off? You thought it was over?
he
You didn't see that fourth quarter?
You didn't see them come back 2 plays.
quarter?
And did you see him roll out and hit Crabtree on that rollout? That's what they need to do, okay? Let's go to a spread offense, 4 wide receivers.
It was
spreads the defense out.
23-3. Y'all act like y'all never been up 23-3
But how many
in the fourth quarter.
In the playoffs? I haven't.
But how many?
I got to be a little excited. You got to be a little excited.
But when you're in that situation, coordinators on defense tend to rein it back a little bit, play a little prevent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yes.
You were holding your breath when they kicked that onside kick. That onside kick at the end of the game, I was like, man, if they get this ball back, they got a chance because Lamar was a different quarterback in that with 8 minutes left. It wasn't like the last 2 minutes of the game.
You're right. He was completely different.
Yeah.
He fumbled twice in the first quarter and only once in the fourth. And he was completely different.
Can we reset this? Because
he has to definitely be better.
Hold on. Y'all, can we reset this and get this back to a Lamar Jackson, bench him for Joe Flacco conversation? Because a man is as faithful as his options. So your option is Joe Flacco. Who is the most recent quarterback after 3 quarters to only throw for 25 yards or fewer? Trivia right now.
Falling right into my trap.
No, trivia right now. Who was that? It was Joe Flacco. So, damn it. And we're not going to go with the guy who just did what you just doing, what you're doing right now in this moment. Joe Flacco has proven time and time again that they have won in spite of him, despite him having that 2011 run and 11 touchdowns, 0 interceptions.
Marcellus.
Super Bowl MVP.
In that game,
they won.
Were never down 23-3.
Right.
Their backup quarterback was a kid named Troy Smith that played in the league for about 4 years, a 5th-round draft pick. You know who the backup quarterback was in this game? the guy with the second most postseason wins other than Tom Brady, the guy who gets hot every postseason, the guy with a Super Bowl, the guy with a Super Bowl on his resume. Their options were a lot better yesterday than they were in 2009.
They will ever have been.
But the guy who played them into the position where we had to put your backup in the first place.
What about you?
Oh, that guy.
You go with Joe Flacco. Did you not see Ingram and Bosa getting after Lamar Jackson?
That's Lamar Jackson.
He would have had no time back there. That's what I'm saying. I don't know.
He probably
Joe
wouldn't,
Flacco's not a good scrambler.
I'm just talking about from a standpoint of play calling. Maybe Morningwig would have done something a little different.
I blame Morningwig. He should have went to that 4 wide a lot quicker.
He should have went to the 4 wide, but he was playing against a dime run package. Like, y'all know what that means.
You're supposed to run at it.
You're supposed to run at it.
Sometimes that don't always work.
If they're not scared, if they got Heart of Lions back there with that athleticism, good luck trying to get on the second level. You're not going to be double teamed.
If they got heart, tackling is a mentality.
That's
and them DBs had some heart.
I mean, when you're talking about what you see from them having a dime package out there, the Chargers played that game fully motivated week 16. They were playing for home field to keep pace with the Kansas City Chiefs. So let's not go out there and say they play vanilla. What happened in that game is they were going down for a game-winning drive, 16-10, and Gates fumbled. So then all of a sudden they said, look, y'all know how this works in the game of chess. When you win a game like that, you don't change as much because you're like, it was successful. But the losing team is like, ball that up, scrap that up. We have to do something different against a team and an offense that is limited. They fell victim to the same trap that most of us fall victim to when we're successful. We don't go back and change as much as the other team who has to clear the whiteboard.
I'm going to just say this. There's a reason why I referenced Terry Bradshaw in my essay. There's only one chance of Lamar Jackson ever developing into his full potential, and that's if he is appropriately criticized and held accountable the same way Terry Bradshaw was. If everybody just runs out and, oh, my God, you can't criticize Lamar, it's racism, or, oh, Lamar Jackson's getting treated in a way quarterbacks have never been treated. That's all BS and baloney. This position is for the whole game is, but that position is for guys with the thickest skin and the toughest who can handle the criticism that goes along with being a franchise quarterback. And Lamar Jackson played terribly. He's not right now a pocket quarterback the whole damn weekend. And trust me, I look like a fool because I was hot on the Houston Texans. I never thought Deshaun Watson could play the kind of game he played. You have to play that position from the pocket. And if Lamar Jackson isn't held to that standard and we're just going to sit around and make excuses for him, he's never going to develop. He's going to be another Tebow.
I love the messaging, but I don't like the loss of perspective in there. And here's the loss of perspective. This was the youngest quarterback ever to start a playoff game, right? Now let's talk about some other notable big-name quarterbacks in their first playoff debut. And if you look at these names and you look at what Lamar Jackson did versus Andrew Luck, Matt Ryan, and Dan Marino, they all take L's because it's their first playoff game. You got to go through the rites of passage, the hazing of a playoff experience. But if you look at it really closely, he didn't even play the worst of some of these notable quarterbacks. So it happens.
Marcellus,
keep perspective,
Marcellus, the numbers are only as good as the context around them.
Loss.
No.
Oh.
The man was down 23-3 with 9 minutes to play in the game or something and put up some nice numbers that elevated his QB rating.
I give you that.
What was the situation these other quarterbacks were in? Did they get to pad their stats against a pre-Wentz defense, a defense that's relaxed, a team that's up 23-3 that relaxed? We saw it. They relaxed. That's what all teams do. And so if you examine the first 3 quarters, they went out there and said, you know what, we're going to confuse the hell out of this kid. We're going to throw 7 DBs out here. We're going to put Bosa and Ingram inside. And he and their coaching staff ain't going to know what to do. They put a clown suit on him. And the only way to take that clown suit off is by developing as a pocket passer. And so far, I agree with D'Angelo. That's not what they did this year. What they did is save John Harbaugh's job. And that's why the Ravens fans were booing and calling for Flacco because they're saying this whole season, 1, it was about Harbaugh, and 2, it was about Lamar Jackson. what about the Ravens? What about what's best for the – because that defense the Ravens has out there, that's a nasty Super Bowl defense that could – that's just damn near the same caliber defense as Ray Lewis when he carried Trent Dilfer and Joe Flacco. Again,
I wouldn't go that far, but
again, it's a hell of a defense.
it's a very good defense. That defense had a lot of Hall of Famers on it. I don't think
I agree.
many, if
we got T-Sizzle,
but I mean, you're absolutely right, and I always said developing him long term, I think needs to be the goal and the focus. And you could just tell that was not the goal and the focus. And so moving forward, like, where does this franchise go? Because you're letting Joe Flacco walk, right? You are. It's just, he said it, they all said it. Joe Flacco is going to be a successful quarterback somewhere. Your backup's RG3. So now you got Lamar Jackson and RG3. You got to, you can't just
Y'all
run
saying that he
kind of
didn't develop
gimmicky
from
offense.
play one 8 games ago to what we saw yesterday. And look, they slowed him down in the regular season last week. But Cleveland did as well.
Did he develop? Yes.
Yes, he developed. So
From where he started. But he started probably here.
did y'all think he was going to go on the Super Bowl run?
No,
didn't think he was on a
Marcellus.
Super
I'm
Bowl
just talking
run.
about, did you see the man duck his shoulder, running to the sidelines, and taking on defenders?
Yes.
He that's crazy. He's not built for that.
A lot
He
of guys
could've-
struggle with
No, no,
that
no.
same thing. Should
This
you
is how
slide?
I-
Should you
Not
get that
quarterbacks,
shit?
though.
Oh, yes, they do, because outside of Russell
could've
Wilson,
ain't
we
putting
couldn't
his head
Step
down.
out of bounds. I'm not talking about sliding, just step out of
just
bounds.
step out.
He was trying to like he's Earl Campbell. That's not development.
Why didn't Jimmy G play this year? You know why? Because, look, in development,
'Cause he
you
cut
learn
back,
those
man.
things.
He cut back, though.
You learn these
It's
things.
different. He
All I'm
didn't try to
saying is
run 'em over.
playoff football is plan B football. We all know that. We're taking plan A away. They took plan A away. I'm not going to put all the criticism on Lamar Jackson when they took it away from the entire offense.
Is he a franchise quarterback in the future, Tony? You're blowing my mind if you say yes.
Well, I think at this point, with what he did that last 8 minutes of the game, if they can stick to that, I'm telling you, if they can stick to that, because that is what we've been waiting
When
to
has
see.
8 minutes ever been good enough? When has 8 minutes ever been good enough?
First of all, what is the alternative? I like what you said. What is the alternative at this point? He's your first-round draft choice. You're getting rid of Joe Flacco. It's important that you develop him. You can take that tape and say, Lamar, we need more of this, because now you will no longer be that one-trick pony, because defenses will figure it out. You better have an arsenal. You better have different ways to be successful in this league. I think he can do it. I'm going to say yes. And I say, what is the alternative?
To the Ravens' point, they didn't expect Lamar Jackson to play this season. They wanted to use him in those gimmicky little things throughout the course of the game, because we saw when he was getting playing time early in the season, I never wanted it to be that read option and just go run around the edge. I wanted him to drop back, and even when he got those sparing reps, just to see him so he can see things in full speed. And so they never went into this season thinking he was going to be that kind of guy. So maybe I'm thinking this offseason they're going to have that time with him in the film room and be able to really, really get him, I think, locked into playing a different style of football, because the gimmicky stuff is not going to work
You
anymore.
got to let him play.
You got to let him play.
Yeah.
Nothing gets you in a football shape but playing football. And nothing gets you being a quarterback in the pocket that can read defenses until you get in that pocket.
I could just say that we'll end on this.
You don't need growth. What about growth? You don't like growth.
We're gonna
You
end
don't
on
like
this
it. You
note.
can't open the flower. You got to let the flower open up on its own.
Bloom,
Give him
baby.
some time. This
Tony,
is
I'm
it.
going to keep it 1,000% real. Look, man. I'm just held to a higher standard. Anytime I give a lady 8 minutes, it's never good enough. I get the side eye. 8 minutes, this thing.
We got 8 in them.
All right, welcome back. Time for a big story. Whitlock and Wiley. D'Angelo Hall is back. We're joined now by former Pro Bowler Sean Merriman. Let's move to Dallas, where the Cowboys held on to beat the Seahawks 24-22 Saturday, with Dak Prescott quieting a lot of his doubters with a big game, including a crucial 16-yard scramble for a first down that set up his own game-winning touchdown run on the next play. After the game, Ezekiel Elliott called Dak, quote, a grown-ass man. All right, our question here is, did Dak do enough to justify being a franchise quarterback? Did he change your opinion of Dak Prescott with his performance yesterday? Marcel, I'm gonna let you fire first before I fire.
Who shot you? Come on, Dak. Let's get that. My opinions of Dak are the same, but my complaints have changed. My criticism will change. It has to. New results in. Dak is not for me. as a franchise quarterback, he's not for me. In this inflated NFL, protecting the quarterback and receivers, I expect more out of Dak. I expect 300-yard game here or there, brother. I expect 4 touchdowns once in your career.
Right.
And I haven't seen either. So I'm going to let that go. My opinion has been solidified, and he backs it up. But my complaint of he's not a franchise quarterback, I have to change that and alter it because he's best for this situation. With an owner like Jerry Jones, with the personalities on this roster, Dak Prescott is less of a great quarterback than I desire, but he's also less of a failure at the quarterback position in terms of miscues than most quarterbacks. He just basically is so stable. He's so smart in the pocket in terms of which moments to take the risk, which moments to stay reserved, and he manages the game and manages the personalities to a point where I have to start giving that proper credit as an evaluator. So my opinion of Dak, not for me, but it's like your boy and he keeps bringing his girl around. You know that ain't gonna work out, but you're getting tired of just telling them. So you know what you do? You just say, let's just enjoy this meal, because I already told you what I feel about you. Do you, dog?
That's a great segue from my point, because what I tell people all the time is you never know what makes another man happy. And so or another woman, what makes her happy.
Right.
And so you might look over and be like, man, I don't like that. But that's what they like.
Yeah.
And Jerry Jones likes Dak Prescott because Jerry Jones has a vision. I'm going to build a complete team on both sides of the football, and I'm going to have an affordable franchise quarterback.
Bingo.
And so my opinion hasn't changed. Dak Prescott is the perfect quarterback for Jerry Jones's vision of the Cowboys, and we saw proof of it this weekend.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
No, I just think that Dak Prescott is an average quarterback, no matter how you look at it. So you say he can have a 300-yard game here and there. That's great. But he can also have a 185-yard game here and there. So you can never really be too mad at him, right? He can go out and say, oh, he had a great game, or he had a terrible game, and he's always going to sit in the middle no matter what. But I'll tell you one thing that he does for this team and how he always carries himself, how his attitude is. He's the most confident average quarterback that I think we've ever seen.
All right, compliment.
He is.
Compliment.
No, I mean, see, he's
not wrong, man.
Man, I'm being honest. He's the most average quarterback that we've ever seen. Like, he always carries himself like everything's gonna be okay, no matter if he plays well or if he plays sloppy. He carries himself like everything's gonna be okay, and that's why if I was his teammate, I could play with him. I'm okay with that because you know what? He's not going away from contact. He's not ducking down, shying away from a sack. He'll go out and jump over somebody if he needs to, or he'll stink it up and run back to the huddle like nothing ever happened, right? So if you have somebody like this and the way this team is built, right? They're running the ball. They got a great defense. So if you got a quarterback that fits into the mold of just always being confident, you never worried about him too much, you can live with that. So if I'm his teammate, I can play with him, but no matter what, he's still average.
See, my opinion of Dak hasn't changed, but I held Dak in pretty high regards already. Like, I didn't think he was elite, but I think he's right on that second tier trying to pull his way in.
Like a B minus?
Yeah, I mean, you know, if your top guys have Super Bowls, you know, your second tier guys are your $30 million guys like your Kirk Cousins, your Matt Ryans. I think he's kind of, even Russell Wilson's kind of in. Well, I probably would give Russell on the top tier pulling himself in. But I just see Dak differently. I don't know if it's because I've competed against him, but I just think that kid has something, man. Like, he has a it. And yes, it's not going to always be pretty. You know, the passes might not always be on the money. The interception he threw. The receiver should have made that catch. But that's elementary ball, Dak. You throw that ball to where he can stick that 7 route and run right under it and catch it right here in his hands. You don't put it back here. That's a play an NFL quarterback should make 100 out of 100 times. And so those are the frustrating plays you see from Dak. But, man, like you said, it's something about this kid when he talks, man.
Give me a comparable. Can he win it all? Can he be?
Yes, he can. On this team, yes, he can. Not this team this year.
Right.
But moving forward, having him at a bargain.
Who is the comparable?
It's Alex Smith. It's Alex Smith before you pay Alex Smith this $25 million.
Hasn't won a
Kansas
Super
City
Bowl.
with $17 million. You're right. But he was a bargain deal at $17 million. He won a lot of games. He protected the football, and he gave when he was in Kansas City, he gave Kansas City a chance. Not Alex Smith last year, who tossed it all over the yard because he seen young Mahomes on his heels and he knew he had to play a little different. I'm talking about the Alex Smith who was on those San Francisco teams.
Well, that was
before
Alex
Colin
Smith
Kaepernick
who
took the
had
spot.
offensive coordinator every year, every other year, so he never got to figure out and have consistency at the position. Dak Prescott, to me, his greatest attribute is that he plays within his skin. Now, that means there are limitations, and we know that Dak, he's doing an amazing job of computing what his limits are and trying his best not to exceed them. He's played 48 games right now by game logs. And like I said, in terms of next level NFL games, 300-plus yards, we see 5. So this is a guy who's like, I'm a zig when they zag. Everybody else is going out there trying to throw 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, and also increasing the risk factor. This is a guy who's like, I'm going to rely on other elements. I got the best running back in my mind in the league. Yeah. I got one of the best defenses out there. Just play within it. And this is almost Mark Sanchez's first 2 years. Inflated.
Now you're talking about me being disrespectful. That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. That was worse.
I'm going to go back to Mark Sanchez's first 2 years for y'all.
I think Dallas had a quarterback like him before years ago. Y'all may be too young to remember Danny White. Came in after Roger Staubach. And that's who he reminds me of. But Danny White was never quite enough to get that Super Bowl. And so, now look, I agree with Jerry's vision. I'm not sure if Dak is ever going to max out the way Jerry thinks. I think Jerry honestly believes, like, man, go study Tom Brady's first 3 or 4 years in New England and see if it wasn't all the pieces around him and great coaching.
Yeah.
And then when Tom Brady got to 25, 26, 27 years old, did he take off and become great? I think Jerry thinks that's a possibility with Dak. I don't. But all these things y'all talking about, again, Sean, some things we're taking as criticism, I think is actually, you're saying Dak is very mature. He doesn't get too high, he doesn't get too low.
He is, and that's the quality about him. That's what I if I'm a teammate of Dak's, I like it. You know, Ezekiel Elliott came out and he's a grown-ass man. Who he is. He'll sacrifice his body. He'll do what's necessary for the team to win. That doesn't take anything away from him being average. I play with average. You know, I take Ryan Fitzpatrick, right, when I played in Buffalo. Ryan Fitzpatrick has his times where he can go and light you up, right? He'll have a great 5 or 6 games and he'll disappear. Nowhere. He's an average quarterback, but he's still playing for, you know, he can still step into it. Jameis wants to go down. He can still win some games for you. That's Dak Prescott. He can still win some games for you.
See, that's why, look, Mark Sanchez may be too low. Ryan Fitzpatrick, for me, too high. There are moments when Ryan Fitzpatrick blows your mind.
What?
There are games when you see Ryan Fitzpatrick and you're like, whoa, did he just put up those numbers? He was on pace this year. He had NFL records his first 3 games this year.
He did.
What have we ever seen from Dak Prescott in the position, just in moments? You know how when you're a young quarterback, coach always says, just show me flashes. What are the flashes of brilliance and greatness from Dak?
I mean,
they're subtle.
Let's just cut Dak a little bit of a break because he's not going to be the best offensive player on that team. He's just not.
Right.
And that's okay with him. That's okay with their organization. We got to understand the bell cow is 21. It's going to run through him and that offensive line. And he's had Amari Cooper for 10 games.
Later
We've
in the
seen
show,
him throw the ball, and we're like, wow, Amari Cooper's awesome.
we're going to get into that because that's why they got a chance against the Rams this weekend, 21. Jason Whitlock, Marcellus Wiley, joined by D'Angelo Hall and Sean Merriman. Let's move to Chicago, where Nick Foles' improbable story continued yesterday with the quarterback leading the Eagles down the field in the final minutes to score a touchdown and lock up a comeback win over the Bears with an assist from Bears kicker Cody Parkey. Foles' legend continues to grow each week while Carson Wentz once again has to watch from the sidelines. I said this before we went on vacation, Marcellus. Nick Foles is the right quarterback for Doug Peterson. He's not a more talented quarterback than Carson Wentz, but for Doug Peterson and this Eagles team, Nick Foles is probably a better option. I think, and if they go and beat New Orleans, it's over. You have to pay this man the $20 million, and you have to move on from Carson Wentz and trade him if they beat the Saints this weekend. But I think it's a no-brainer if they beat the Saints. But I would even right now say that Nick Foles is the better QB for the Eagles and Doug Peterson than Carson Wentz.
Impossible for me to decide with conviction. I won't lie about that. It's almost like I'll let you choose first in this draft. And give me the other option, and I'm rolling.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Let's play them out. Nick Foles does well this playoff run, and you say, we're going with Nick Foles next year. As soon as they hit a dry patch, I just know crowds. I just know fan bases. I just know
Especially
teammates.
Philly.
And Philly, when they throw batteries at you, hitting in the snowballs. Come on, man. Once they hit that dry patch, you gave up the Carson Wentz, the younger talent, the better quarterback for this, even though he would have maybe 2 Super Bowls as equity. Now let's play it forward, and you go with Carson Wentz. If you go with Carson Wentz to hit a dry patch, you know what they're going to say? You know what? That's the better of the 2. Nick Foles was limited in terms of what his capacity was. He was a spark plug, not the full engine. And we have to turn the page. I think that's what's going to be the lesser of 2 evils. But if you go with Nick Foles, you know what's coming. I don't give a dang what happens this postseason.
Let me ask you a
Hell's
question,
coming
though.
next year.
Say you go with Carson Wentz and he gets hurt 2 out of the next 4 years. Then what do you say?
That we bet on the wrong guy, even though he was the right guy to bet on. And
I just think you can't be right.
But I'm saying, even if he got hurt, see, I was in the same position when Drew Brees and Phillip Rivers. Right when they came in, they drafted Phillip. So Drew Brees, you see what he's doing now, but Drew Brees was just playing out of his mind. He had that 12-4 year the year before I got there. If Drew Brees didn't get hurt, we were all thinking in the locker room, what are they going to do? Because we were like, man, if Drew leaves, or if Drew stays, what are they going to do with Phillip? Well, you draft a guy that high, you have to put him there. No matter what happens, Phillip Rivers was the guy going forward, and there's nothing you can really do about it. It just so happened that Drew Brees, like we just talked about, got hurt. Yep. Right? He had that bad shoulder injury where they felt comfortable with moving forward. And it was almost like they had an out. Like, oh, okay, we don't have to make that decision. Well, the Philly has to make that decision now. They got to make a decision because Carson Wentz is he's healthy. He's going to be healthy. Nick Foles is going to be there. If you go with Nick Foles going forward, and he's not your guy after you draft Carson Wentz, if you go with Nick Foles going forward and Carson Wentz has success somewhere else, you're going to look terrible as an organization.
I disagree. Drew Brees has had a better career than Phillip Rivers. The Chargers don't look terrible. And then the other thing, again, we all keep saying, and me included, that Carson Wentz is more talented. But we all know availability is the number 1 talent, and Carson Wentz was unavailable in college, and he's been unavailable twice now in the NFL.
But do you take that risk of him leaving?
That's my thing. My thing is that, you have this Philly fan base who is starved for a Super Bowl. You get your first one. Nick Foles is already a legend in a lot of Philly people's minds and hearts, all right? If he makes another magical run, and like you said, if he goes down and beats New Orleans in that place and he's playing in the NFC Championship game, God forbid he wins that and plays on a Super Bowl.
Yeah, Lord.
I mean, how do you not stick with him?
Here's what I want y'all to do. Screw the fans.
Y'all
are players. What does Malcolm Jenkins, Chris Long, Jason Peters, who do they want to be the quarterback?
We obviously know who Chris Long wants, and that locker room, they love Nick Foles.
Yeah.
Well, because they like
to make a shrine of a guy as another guy still in that building. As a leader, come on, man, you got to take that down. Like we appreciate the love we got for Nick Foles, but come on, like that to me is borderline disrespectful. And I know Chris Long, and I know that's not the intent. But it just doesn't feel very genuine in that locker room. It almost puts a divide up between the 2 guys, and they're actually good friends. So
we talk about girlfriends. Nick Foles is the fun girlfriend. Just going out, have some fun. And it's gonna be fun for a minute, but hey, when it's done, it's done. Carson Wentz is the long-term relationship. See, it's just no matter how you look at it. Nick, and you're right, the players have come out and said they like playing with Nick Foles because he's fun to play with. It's almost like you're playing backyard football. They feel comfortable. He has a hot hand right now, so you have to stick with him. But what happens if Carson Wentz leave that building and something doesn't pan out with Nick Foles? If Carson Wentz goes to have any success anywhere else, they're stuck. They made a horrible decision and you don't make a bad decision for the next 2-3 years. You make a bad decision for the next 5 to 8, because that's how long Carson Wentz is going to be playing somewhere else.
But check this out. You're going to get a lot for Carson Wentz. Let's be real. You gave up a lot to get him, but you're going to get a lot for him. you ain't gonna get nothing for Nick Foles at this point. And if this is a guy who can, like we said, it's no comparing the two athletically, skill-wise, or nothing. But that's the problem with GMs and front office guys. They want skill guys and, oh, he's great, da-da-da-da. That's cool. But how does he execute my system and my scheme? Give me a lesser guy who executes my scheme better than a great player who doesn't execute my scheme very well.
This is why the parallel to John Gruden and Rich Gannon to this situation makes sense to me, because there was a moment when Rich Gannon was deemed a journeyman.
Yeah.
And then, Lord, he found Gruden
MVP, baby.
and that Raiders machinery that they had. We couldn't
going.
touch that on defense. I was like, what is – and you knew the scouting report of Rich Gannon. He was a whole different animal. And maybe Doug Peterson and Nick Foles turns 30 this month.
Yeah.
So he's still on the right side of that. He's still a young quarterback despite his mannerisms. Like I said, I don't want to draft first, but if you make me, I got to go with Carson Wentz just by my old evaluation mode.
I'm going with Nick
but
Foles. And
I can see the roll of the dice.
2 first-round draft picks in the next 2 years, and I want a player.
Hold on. I mean, honestly,
moving on.
You're right about the trade value, and Philadelphia's had a problem on the back end of their defense. I wonder if Jacksonville wouldn't give up a Jalen Ramsey for Carson Wentz and some other pieces, and you start fixing the other half of your defense.
If I'm Jacksonville, I'll hang up the phone. I'm not giving up Jalen Ramsey for Carson Wentz and his injuries.
Jalen Ramsey.
And his injuries.
But look, you're talking about his injuries and all this. So now you're saying the quarterback position isn't more valued than the cornerback position?
Oh, it certainly
That
is.
you wouldn't give up Jalen Ramsey for Carson Wentz, but you're willing to keep Carson Wentz here over my Super Bowl?
All I'm saying is, but our lightning in the bottle that we caught in Jacksonville, the formula was Jalen Ramsey and others. It wasn't even our quarterback. So
What about that tsunami they dealt with this year? That was Jalen Ramsey, too. All right, welcome back. Whitlock and Wiley, joined by D'Angelo Hall and Sean Merriman. Let's move to Houston, where Andrew Luck had a triumphant return to the postseason, leading the Colts to a dominant win over the Texans. Indy was clearly the more complete team Saturday, with a balanced offense led by Luck and running back Marlon Mack, and a defense that completely shut down Deshaun Watson. The Colts will now head to Kansas City to take on my Kansas City Chiefs at Arrowhead Stadium. And unfortunately, Patrick Mahomes is going to have to perform a magic trick. He and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are going to have to compensate for a major defensive deficiency that the Chiefs have. The Colts are the better team. Andrew Luck, second or third best quarterback in the league right now. Andrew Luck has won 10 of the last 11 games.
I wonder who was the number one quarterback in the league.
Patrick Mahomes. The Chiefs they finished 3-3 to close out the season. The Colts are red hot. The Colts have a much better defense. Their defensive line is nasty. They got this rookie linebacker, nasty.
All pro.
It's a more complete team, and I've seen this before. I've seen the Colts come into Arrowhead Stadium and knock off a number 1 seed Chiefs team. I'm preparing for the worst.
Man, thank God you're an award-winning journalist and commentator and not a football coach. You just went on record and said, hey, guys, I need more out of you in these big moments. To win the big games, you got to do the little things. The last thing you want to do is tell them to play outside of themselves, because that's when they try too hard, do too much, and the mistakes come and show up. Look, in Arrowhead this year, Pat Mahomes, 7-1 record, 66 completion percentage, 106 passer rating. Just do you, dog. Just do you, Pat Mahomes, again. And this is what's going to happen. They should win this game because they're the better team. I understand, look, their offense is leaps and bounds better to me than what Indianapolis is. I'm talking about this is an offense that if they score 50, we're not surprised. Now, defensively, if they give up 50, we're not surprised, right? So now you have to make that up with your offensive play. There's another way to do it without just scoring points. It's to jump on them early. If you jump on a team early, it's almost like double the score what you're seeing on the scoreboard. If this game is close, through the haymakers that will be thrown by the Indianapolis Colts at Arrowhead, all of a sudden the doubt birds creep in, and then your formula comes to life, comes to fruition. But if all things are equal, I think that the Chiefs handle business at home.
Well, the Chiefs are the better team.
Yeah.
They are. They're the better team. But the problem is, especially in this situation,
why?
they're the better team because they have they're the most talented team on the offense side of the ball and explosive players. So when you look at the teams across the board, this is the scary part in going into the playoffs. You have one team in the Colts that's doing that, and you got the Chiefs that's doing that. That's the only thing that concerns me a little bit going into the game and going into the playoffs, especially because you have a team that's hotter than the other.
Yeah.
You go back to the Chargers and the Chiefs. The Chiefs, if they had Kareem Hunt, they probably should have beat the Chargers. They don't have that firepower in the backfield anymore. They don't. Obviously, their defense is terrible. I mean, they got to score 50 points in order to win a football game. The problem when you have a situation like this is you have a team that is more complete with the Colts. I do believe the Colts are going to win. I do believe the Colts are going to beat. I do think they're going to go to Arrowhead and have the game. Even though the Chiefs
are the better team,
the Chiefs are the better team.
The Colts going to win.
Yeah, the Colts are going to win because when you're going into the playoffs and you look at the Chiefs' past and how they've been on fire during the season, Andy Reid's team been on fire during the season, and then slowly towards the playoffs they started to decline, and they get put out.
Who's the quarterback of those teams?
That's the difference, man.
But you know what? You're talking about they had a better team on the defense side of the ball, and around those times when they was winning those football games as well.
All right, so are the Colts better than the Chiefs? The Colts are a better overall team. I think what you're trying to say is because the Chiefs' offense is so explosive and dynamic, and they got the NFL MVP and Pat Mahomes, we all want to say, look, defense is here for the Colts. Offense is probably a little bit lower here, but the Chiefs' offense is here. So even though their defense is here, we think they'll level off a little higher than the Colts, in my opinion. So I think the Chiefs win this game, but I think the Colts are the most.
You played defense.
I did, and I also know how hard it is to play defense. This Colts team plays a lot of zone. You don't think Andy Reid has already scripted the hell out of these dudes? They going to have some stuff now. The Colts defense is very good. They're very underrated. They play hard, but they don't play a lot of man. They play a lot of zones. And I've watched Pat Mahomes this year pick guys apart playing zone. You got to pressure him. You got to jam them little receivers, get in their faces. You let them dudes just free release and run through zones, it's going to make for a long day for that Colts defense.
Okay, and trust me, Pat Mahomes is probably going to win the MVP. He's the best quarterback in football right now. The guy that's probably right behind him is Andrew Luck. And if you look at Andrew Luck over this last stretch and look at the way their offensive line just blocked J.J. Watt and Clowney, you think they're not going to do it to D. Ford and Justin Houston?
No, I think
and Chris Jones? And so Andrew Luck is going to have time to throw the ball. Andrew Luck is right there with Mahomes.
See, I think he is right there, but I don't think he's quite like I always question when Andrew Luck was coming back. Like, I just don't know if he's back. The arm strength, I still haven't seen a lot of throws downfield. Like, I've seen some, maybe 25, 30 yards. I haven't seen him drop back and throw 50-yard bombs. And so I still question, is Andrew Luck really, like, he had my comeback player of the year vote midway through the season because I was like, wow, this dude's really playing pretty good. And then to finish with, 40 touchdowns? I mean, he is right behind Pat Mahomes, but I just think the weapons Pat Mahomes has are a little bit more explosive and dynamic.
Let's just look at that Texans-Colts game one more time in replay. And look how many missed opportunities Deshaun Watson because of his inaccuracy. And let's just live in a parallel universe and put Patrick Mahomes and them weapons and those opportunities. I mean, wide open in the dirt. Wide open in the dirt. And just imagine half of those are actual completions, moving the chains, putting the pressure on that Colts offense to keep pace.
Right.
And then the creativeness of Andy Reid. That's going to be the X factor. That's going to be the X factor to me.
Andrew Luck is better for one. His health is better because he's not on his back as much. He's been sacked least amount of times in the entire NFL. Once D. Ford is blocked, once Justin Houston is blocked, who else?
Chris Jones.
Okay, all right. Okay, you got a three-headed monster with Houston too. They didn't do nothing. They didn't do anything. So if those three guys can, and they're better overall on defense behind. It's linebackers all the way to the secondary. They're just a better team. So you can stop one or two guys. You can stop them up front, but they're still on the second half of that defense. They're still an all-around better team. Like you said, Patrick Mahomes has to pull off, and he's been doing it all year, but he has to pull off a miracle. But at some point in time, that miracle, it stops.
All right, welcome back. Whitlock and Wiley, D'Angelo Hall and Sean Merriman are back. Let's return to the Cowboys, who will travel to Los Angeles to take on the Rams in this week's divisional round showdown on Saturday night. The Rams open as big favorites, but the matchup may actually be closer than it appears. While the Rams have a clear advantage on offense, their defense leaves a lot to be desired. While the Cowboys' defense has been a force to be reckoned with all year, I don't get this Vegas line. 7 points is way too much. This is a close game. I believe in the Dallas defense, and I believe in Dallas's ability to slow down Jared Goff in this offense. And then I believe in the Dallas defense because number 21's on the other side, and he's going to run it down LA's throat. And I think the Rams gave up like 5.1 yards per carry throughout the season. Zeke's going to eat a lot. This is going to be a close game.
That's not respecting Wade Phillips enough. Think about this. You have the last ranked rush defense, right? And you're like, here comes Zeke. We know what we got to do.
Yep.
We got to stop this dude. And we know who Dak Prescott is and who he's not. So if we're going to lose one way. So Zeke minimized, whatever that is, 70, 80 yards, hopefully, for the Rams, as I think the Rams will win this game, because now they're going to say Dak Prescott, Amari Cooper. We paid 2 cornerbacks in the offseason for one thing, this moment right here. And right now, they only have 1 franchise receiver, and then Gallup is playing very well. Beasley is injured right now, so I don't know how he's going to perform as a slot. That said, we're going to shut down this run game and say, Dak, pick us apart. Dare you, double dare you, double dog dare you. And I don't think it's going to happen. And respect to Wade Phillips and his defense. They purchased the defense in the offseason for this moment right here, and I think they prevail.
Look, men lie, women lie, numbers don't. Those numbers say that Rams defense is bad. But to a man, if you go man-to-man and they're healthy, not play man-to-man, but if you go each man, they got some players. They got some ballers. And so –
who like to get upfield, leave gaping holes
they do.
In the middle of that defense.
And knowing Wade Phillips, you played for Wade. Knowing Wade's going to take away what you do great, period. That's the number one concern. So for this Dallas team who loves to run the football, even though they haven't been great in the past stopping the run, I'm telling you, we need to watch this game together because the Rams will stop the run. I'm telling you, the Rams will stop the run.
I don't know if Sue and Donald are disciplined enough.
No, and I'll go even further than that. I'll give Dallas a shot because of what they did with the Saints. I'll give them that they have an opportunity. I think it's going to be a lot bigger game than what the numbers are showing. Let me tell you one thing about Wade Phillips. He's not going to lose against a one-dimensional team. He's just not going to lose. He's going to drop a man down in the box. He's going to line up in man coverage, and he's going to blitz the heck out of them and say, you guys going to beat me another way.
Yep.
Period. That's just his mentality. That's the way it's always been. Now, the numbers have been bad, and they haven't performed against teams that are balanced, that have more than one wide receiver and can do multiple things. They haven't performed well because they don't have that across the board to go out and play like that. Being one-dimensional and knowing that Ezekiel Elliott going to get the football, he's going to drop a man down in the box and play them man up and say, we're going to stay in this. And we're going to tell you that we're going to stay in this. The first 15 plays in that defense is going to be scripted to stop that backfield. And if they can successfully get out of that, then he'll change up. But until then, he ain't changing up.
And the Rams have been a little banged up. You know, they finally get to lead back. Peters has played a lot better because they're not asking him to go up here and be this big physical corner. Right. Like, play off, use your vision, make plays. That's what you do well. Like, so they're putting guys in position. LaMarcus Joyner, I think, is one of the best safeties in the game. Reminds me of Earl. So I don't give Dallas a chance in this
Marcellus, could you look up what number Wade Phillips will be wearing on Saturday?
Nah, he ain't playing.
He ain't playing.
But he gonna call some plays,
At the end of the day,
the dudes on the field got to do it.
Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh are going to be out there defensive tackle, and they have a one-track mind. Again, it's like you set me at a buffet. I can go in with all the greatest intentions, but you set me at a buffet, I'm going to do what I always do. Sue and Donald are going to go upfield and leave gaping. Dante Fowler's undisciplined. Marcus Peters is undisciplined, likes to freelance. Wade Phillips has been struggling with this collection of characters.
I give you that.
He doesn't have assignment sound guys.
But I like to think that when when it's most important. We've all, you know, you've been told, hey, don't rush the passes or, you know, runs coming, da-da-da-da. I've been told, hey, this coverage right here, don't do this, da-da-da. And we want to do it and make that play and, you know, do that. But it's been certain points through the course of games where we know, hey, look, coach ain't playing. This is important for us to do it right this time. And you do it right. And so I just like to believe that those guys know what's at hand.
Going all the way back to
Nebraska.
You
right.
Freelance.
Doing his own thing. You right. You right.
Yeah.
You right.
Hey, one more thing. This will be a home game for the Cowboys.
Watch. No,
they are
gonna
coming,
travel.
bro.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you, D'Angelo. Thank you, Sean. Time to get anti-social.
It's that time.
Our social media manager, Darnell Smith, is here to tell us what we missed last week. Marcellus, you and I were gone. You know, I never heard from Darnell the entire time I was gone.
Not once?
Not a Happy New Year, not nothing.
That's how he
The
pays.
phone works both ways. I ain't hear from y'all either.
Ooh, you can receive text messages.
Damn.
I ain't seen y'all since Halloween. It felt like.
Marcellus, do the job opportunities work both ways?
Oh, man.
Hold on. We can't use that against you forever.
cold-blooded.
When he gonna be your equal? When he gonna be on your level, Whitlock? Everybody saw that
about
late.
30 years.
Anti-social doing good. The ratings
brother.
is good.
Say that.
Y'all need me.
Y'all see that? Hey, I ain't hit him Happy New Year. I saw that Lake Tahoe post. I was like, he chilling.
I'm letting
He in a
him
good
chill.
place. I ain't touching that.
Ain't hear from Darnell.
Yeah. Did you even get
Not
service?
a good look. Not a good look.
Oh,
Darnell. Go
man.
ahead, Darnell.
Anyways, man. If I lose my job, man. Let's start with a big one. Antonio Brown, who had some laughs on a new Fox TV show called The Masked Singer last week. But he's also laughing as people are trying to label him a quitter after reportedly throwing a ball at Big Ben during practice, then missing in Week 17. On Wednesday during Mike Thomas' news conference, Brown was joking around on James Harrison's Instagram story. He posted a cryptic message on his own Instagram account and even unfollowed the Steelers on social media. So, guys, who are you siding with here? Internet troll Antonio Brown or Big Ben?
You know what? I got to give Uncle Jimmy credit. I'm glad he's not here. Remember he called this Bebe's kids?
Oh, yeah, he did.
And he's right. I mean, these are Bebe's kids, and I think there's blame on both sides. I was amazed, you know, occasionally I would tune in and listen or hop on social media, see what people are saying. People are, Big Ben never gets criticized. Why does Big Ben get to skate? And I was like, we've been criticizing him talking about him all season.
Exactly.
Maybe that's on you. Big Ben's a knucklehead. AB's probably a bigger knucklehead. So I guess I would lean a little bit towards being on Big Ben's side, but just slightly.
I lean slightly for Antonio Brown. Knucklehead versus hothead, as you want to say these two are. Like both guys personally, but never been in that emotional space with them where it's competitive. And I can see where Antonio Brown's like, look, you sold me out earlier in the year. I suppressed that. Now it finally bottled up, and now I got to go get you. And an organization's going to look at you throwing a ball at a franchise quarterback. I don't care who that quarterback is like, hey, you need to apologize. He may have felt that he's already been wrong too many times to apologize. That said, this is a bad moment. This is a bad time frame if you're Antonio Brown. He's put himself in harm's way, trading material just for emotional reasons. Mature and grow up and get past this.
All right, what's next, Darnell?
Yeah, sticking in the NFL, where a bunch of head coaches last week lost their job when the season ended, including Todd Bowles, Steve Wilkes, and Vance Joseph. Twitter noticed a common theme pretty quickly, and Pittsburgh Mayor Bill Peduto even chimed in, tweeting, over 70% of the professional players are black. Only 2 black head coaches. How many GMs? How many owners? Over 70% define the game. Are you creating opportunity with the Rooney Rule? Guys, do you think the NFL should be concerned about this?
The question, should they be concerned? I would say yes, a little bit. But I also think we need to put the onus on ourselves a bit. Opportunities are created and snatched. I think too much we think all opportunities are given, and that's just not the case. And so I think the NFL should be concerned, but I think as black coaches, we should also be concerned. Are we doing the right things when we get these opportunities to max them out?
Yeah, look, the Rooney Rule is not effective as a model, as it should be, as desired. A lot of times you already know who your next coaching hire is, whether it's a black coach or a white coach. But then they kind of put you in a position where that interview is supposed to really turn out an opportunity. When in reality, a lot of these decisions are made even before the opportunity is created, unfortunately. That said, keep the Rooney Rule, but it's not the most effective model. It's a little disturbing. You just got to think, what's up the pipeline, who's next, what's in line to change these numbers because they're declining to the point we only have 2 black head coaches right now. That's disturbing. And let's just change Black Monday, because it's too literal, to White Monday. Because this Black Monday, people are taking that to heart. They're really getting rid of these black coaches. Stop playing.
I just want to add this, though. The guy talks about 70% of the players being African-American. And again, that's where I think some of the burden has to come on us as players in that locker room. Are we making sure we're going all out for these coaches that get this opportunity? Are we giving our all and making sure we're protected? I look at Antonio Brown as a prime example. And Mike Tomlin's been there for a long time and has had success. But has Antonio Brown conducted himself in a way to help and enhance Mike Tomlin's reputation?
You know that.
Again, some of this is on us. We can't just point the finger and say, give, give, give. What are we giving in return?
But if it gets worse, man, we're going to have to take a knee for the coaches. Look, man.
And you know what? I would respect that.
Yeah.
I just keep it real. I would respect the hell out of that. Darnell, what's next?
All right, man, Twitter's been going crazy about LeBron's comments after beating the Warriors in 2016. Take a listen.
And then after I stopped, I was like, that one right there made you the greatest player of all time. You know, everybody was just talking how they were the greatest team of all time. Like, they was the greatest team to ever assembled. And for us to come back, you know, the way we came back in that fashion, I was like, you did something special. That's probably one of the only times in my career I felt like, oh, like you did something special. I haven't really had time to really like sit back and think, but that was a moment.
Y'all got a problem with him calling himself the GOAT.
Here we go.
I'm going to be quick. I'm just going to be quick.
What?
Hey, LeBron's got to come up out of this bubble, man. He's surrounded by people that are dependent upon him and having a conversation with them, and there's no one there to check him, to question him, to second-guess him. He lives in a protective bubble. He's a Hollywood child star that's starting to spin off the rails.
Man, stop this. This is the dynamic. I like LeBron doing this. I like anybody doing this. I tell you why. It's amazing that we got to have the conversation around you, but it's about you, and you can't chime in about what they're talking about, which is me. I take nothing more personal than the conversations I'm a part of. That said, remember in high school when you came to school a mess, holes in your shoe? I'm talking about myself. Same jeans. Not looking all happy. People always want to pick you up. Oh, what's wrong? Oh, you look good. You cool. But let me come in school the day after Christmas, fly, fresh. Oh, he think he all that. He think he crispy, right? So the thing is, LeBron is like, if I act like I'm not a part of this conversation, that's when y'all gonna roar for me to be in it. But when I tell you, yeah, I'm in it. Matter of fact, I'm winning it. Now we gonna sit there and keep the power with the people instead of the person who's putting in the work. LeBron, speak your name into that existence, and his game has backed it up as well.
Did you see the clip of Michael Jordan when he was interviewed by Mike Wilbon like 10, 15 years ago when he got inducted in the Hall of Fame?
Oh, yeah.
Great. And Michael talked about how he wouldn't disrespect the guys before him. I wish LeBron.
Oh, a little more classy, huh? Act with class.
Well,
with class.
Michael Jordan is interacting with a journalist, not a group of people totally dependent on him. That changes the conversation.
Good point there.
Last but not least.
Yeah, switching over to some college football.
Yeah.
National championship game tonight, Alabama versus Clemson, part 3. Some people on Twitter are sick of this rivalry, but our guy Joe Clapp put them in their place tweeting, what self-respecting football fan doesn't want to see the best 2 teams play? Look, Joe's definitely right that these are the 2 best teams in the country. So who y'all got tonight, Bama or Clemson?
I never bet against Nick Saban, so I think Dabo Swinney's right there with Nick, but I just don't make a living betting against Nick Saban, so I like Alabama. And Joel Klatt is right. I cannot wait to see this game tonight.
You know what? Look, I think Bama wins this game, but to a greater point, I heard Colin Cowherd talk about it, our man. He stopped covering college football to the same level of coverage in the years past. He feels the sport is being regionalized. I'm not going to lie. I forgot the national championship game was tonight. I'm looking forward to the playoffs. We've been talking nothing but playoffs. It's going where college basketball went for me. And that's a weird place because college basketball has certainly been marginalized and regionalized. This right here, Maybe it's because it's the third installment. I'm just not as pumped.
Oh, not for me. College football Saturdays are one of the greatest days on earth.
Yep.
Maybe that's because I'm a Ball State nut job and watch online, but I can't wait to see this.
You got the same
tonight.
energy for this as you have other national championship games. The same.
Yeah, tonight to see Nick Saban try to get, and the Tua story and what Jalen Hurts did to put him in this game. I love this story. I love this game tonight. It's football, baby.
I'm with you there.
Nick Saban, baby. Uncle Jimmy's here to help us talk about our approval ratings for Lamar Jackson. What is that? What?
Oh, no, Whit.
Oh my God!
Oh, no.
With that belly hanging out of you, Uncle Jimmy buffet? Is that
Oh, okay, we got jokes. Hey, by the way, how's the hamstring? I heard that you pulled a hamstring working the muscles out over the weekend in your jaw.
I think I'm Sebastian.
In his
Heard you pull one of them jaw muscles. They was worried if you was gonna make it or not.
What's going on? The taco meat out too, huh?
So you a pirate, huh?
Hell, you don't know nothing.
No.
Do I look like Prince? Never meant to cause you any problems.
Oh, man.
I never meant to cause you any pain. Hey.
When the last time you worked out for real? Like, Uncle Jimmy, come on, 3 push-ups a day. Come on, man.
What was that Tom Hanks movie about pirates?
Which one? Pirates of the
Captain Phillips, yeah.
Oh, you the captain?
Hey, let me tell you
Captain
something
now?
about me being a pirate. One thing I can do, you can't never do.
What's that?
Damn, Uncle Jimmy can go down and get that buried treasure. Aye. You don't know anything about that,
That's
do
too
you,
much
big
sword.
boy?
Too much sword.
Here's a highlight from our discussion earlier about Lamar Jackson.
That ain't it. Hell no.
The highlight, please. I don't feel sorry for Lamar Jackson. He's not a victim of unwarranted criticism. He played terrible yesterday and probably should have been benched early in the third quarter.
He played them into this reality, the 6-1 finish to the season, and you have to ride with that guy. Ride or die with that guy.
At the end of the game, when they were out of it, right? The score's out of hand. He almost brought him back. I'm just saying, stay with me now.
Did y'all watch?
I'm gonna
Stay with me now.
Stay with him.
Stay with me now.
Did
Did you
y'all
turn it off? You thought it was over?
I'm just held to a higher standard. Anytime I give a lady 8 minutes, it's never good enough. I get the side eye. 8 minutes, this ain't good.
We got 8 in him.
All right, Uncle Jimmy, that was our discussion about Lamar Jackson. What's your take?
Well, I'm glad to know you told one truth in your life. That's the first one you told. But anyway, but you do know who was sitting on that bench on the Baltimore bench, right?
Yeah.
You know, that wasn't Joe Montana. That wasn't Joe Namath. It wasn't even Joe Theismann. Okay, Jason, that was Joey freaking Flacco. Okay, you don't bench Lamar Jackson for Joey freaking Flacco. We know what the hell that looked like, right?
No, we don't.
Tell him, don't.
No. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. You probably was at the buffet for the last 4 or 5 years, but we saw what Joey Flacco done for the last 4 or 5 years.
Yep.
He won a Super Bowl.
That
Okay,
wasn't
but you
then.
know what?
That was-
Here's what it looked like. It looked like when John McCain took Joe the plumber out in 2008 to try to get him to win the election. Huh?
Joe Flacco's Joe the plumber, huh?
How'd that work out for you, Jason? How'd it work out, Jason?
Look, we're not talking politics. Stay out of politics.
It's not politics, Jason. You know, I mean, Lamar's changed we can believe in, brother. Flacco had his time. Huh?
Hope. Got hope.
Now it's time for Lamar. Lamar Jackson is the man of action, the main attraction, Mr. Show Enough Satisfaction. And for them reasons and them reasons alone, you didn't have to worry about John Harbaugh putting him on the bench, because it was Lamar Jackson that got John Harbaugh that contract extension. See, if it wasn't for Lamar Jackson, Harbaugh, no, he'd be somebody's offensive equipment coordinator somewhere in the NFL.
Equipment coordinator? Give me my
Look, man,
wristbands.
the right thing to do for the team was to put Flacco out there to see if he could spark something. It's about doing what's right for the team.
Sound like you sparked something before you said that.
Hey, man, look, damn the team.
What?
Damn the fans, and damn sure double damn you. The Ravens set up here, man, and ran Lamar Jackson this week and had him looking like a runaway slave with CTE. You understand me? They kept running the same damn play. Come to right. Come to right.
Too soon.
Now, here's what we need. Somebody in the New York Times, I need y'all to do a headline. Is Jason Whitlock too dumb for Speak for Yourself?
Yeah.
I'll wait. Speak amongst yourselves.
Oh, my God. Let me get to my approval rating.
We can't.
Please.
What's that play again?
Come to right. Come to right.
I got Lamar Jackson at a 57. His job performance is down to a 5. All-time greatness 14. Marcellus, go ahead, man. This dude here, man. This dude here.
Oh, my God. He did more than I expected this year, but...
Who, me? Or, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, you did more than I expected.
Yeah, that's more than I expected either.
You got him at a 79, man.
He ain't a GOAT.